Hello, my name is Katie, and I am a social worker from Pathlights, and I am here today to talk to you guys about what the different housing options are today for our older adults. First off, things you need to consider when you are thinking about housing for a senior or an older adult is what kind of housing do I need? Does this senior have any specific requirements, such as a handicap accessible unit or a unit with an elevator? During my time with Pathlights, I've encountered a lot of older adults who have fallen down and have gone to rehab because they had a broken hip or a broken knee and they can't return home because their condo's on the 3rd floor and it doesn't have an elevator. So that's one of the things you want to consider. How long do I plan on staying in this unit? Is this someplace that you can age in place? Do you still need to be planning for housing in the future after you secure this housing? You also want to consider location. Is it near your family? Doctors, is it close to public transportation if that's the mode of transportation that you use? And of course, we want to consider how much can I afford? Realistically, you want to choose something that is within your budget that you can sustain for years to come. Next slide, please. So we want to talk about the barriers and challenges because there are quite a few of them. Often, seniors will encounter very long waiting lists when they're looking for housing. You will have difficulty securing any type of housing if you have a history of eviction or if you have bad credit. Increase in costs. This is a big one that we're seeing, especially during the pandemic. We've seen a lot of landlords who've decided to sell their apartment units or their condo building through the pandemic, and the new landlords are taking over and they are increasing the rent by a lot. And if you're living on Social Security, this often is not within your budget. Moving, downsizing, packing, and relocating. We all know that moving is not fun, and packing boxes, moving boxes, having to store them, this is an added cost that some older adults cannot afford. Client pushback on transitioning to the next level of care. I run into a lot of seniors who are not ready to move to a level of care. They want to stay in an independent unit. They want to remain on their own, which of course everybody does. So sometimes this is often a hard pill to swallow. So the sooner we can start talking about it with our parents or our grandparents or our neighbors, the better. The easier the transition will be when they're ready. Next slide, please. So the first option is going to be independent living. So these are senior apartments. Independent living could be within an assisted living facility in itself. It could be subsidized housing. Subsidized housing is where a senior is going to get their own independent apartment, and their rent is going to be 30% of whatever their income is. So this is the most affordable housing option out there. And because of that, it typically comes with a 2 to 3 year waiting list, which is a long time. Senior low income housing. It's very similar to subsidized housing. It's for seniors who are on a restricted income, who are on a low income. They usually come with waiting lists. Sometimes they do have units available right away. The waiting lists are typically shorter than subsidized housing, maybe 1 to 2 years. Section 8, so Section 8 is the housing voucher. Currently, the waiting list for Section 8 is closed. I believe it's about a 12-year wait right now. And typically, families who have young children or many children are usually prioritized. So Section 8 is really hard to come by these days. Next slide, please. Assisted living and supportive living. So assisted living, they're very similar, assisted living and supportive living. Assisted living is privately paid, so it is out of your pocket cost. It's typically very expensive. It's typically out of the budget of the population that are contacting Pathlights. The average cost in Illinois is about $4,000 a month, which sounds like a lot, but there are a lot of amenities included. You would get your own independent apartment, and you pay for the level of care that you need. So if you are pretty much independent, but you might need help with bathing, you can pay for that. If you need help with laundry and housekeeping, you can pay for that. If you need help with even dressing, you can pay for that. Medicare and Medicaid does not cover assisted living. Each facility can dictate their age, minimum and the eligibility. So that's going to vary from facility to facility. Some do offer memory care, so that does allow the senior to age in place. When we think of supportive living, it's very similar to assisted living. It is state funded, so it's much more affordable. You do have to be screened by somebody from the state. So this proves that this individual is appropriate for this setting, because in order to qualify for supportive living, you do need some type of support in place. For supportive living, they will collect a client's income and give them $90 a month to live off of. So this is typically where seniors pump the brakes and stop listening to me, because they cannot live off of $90 a month, which I understand. If I had to do it, I don't even know if I could. But I try to explain to them that, yes, you only get $90 a month, but the rest of that money covers your rent, your utilities, cable, laundry, housekeeping. The facilities have like 12 hours of recreational and therapeutic activities scheduled 7 days a week. And it could only be temporary. It could be a temporary solution for housing. You don't have to stay there forever. You can come and go as you please. Some seniors bring a car. They would, same as assisted living, they would get their own independent apartment, and the help is there if they need it. Illinois Medicaid does cover some of the cost. So whatever their Social Security income does not cover, Illinois Medicaid will pick up the rest of the tab. Medicare does not cover supportive living. So Medicare doesn't really cover any type of housing at all. For supportive living, typically you have to be at the age of 65 or older. There are a few facilities, they're mainly located in the city, where they will accept individuals who are under the age of 64 as long as they're disabled. Next slide, please. Skilled nursing care. So this is a nursing home. This is long-term care. This is for individuals who need around-the-clock care. So whether they may have dementia and they need 24-hour supervision, or they are physically declining, maybe they had a stroke, they're bedbound, wheelchair bound, they need somebody there to help them with their daily tasks. Live-in caregivers and providing a 24-hour caregiver or private care caregiver when the family can't be there, it is very expensive, and it's often a cost that families cannot afford or can only afford for a short time before they run through their funds. So that's when we need to start talking about, do you think it's appropriate for this person to be living in a nursing home where they can have the medical care that they need, they have the nursing care, they have the supervision, they're safe. One of the programs our organization has is the HOPE program. So this is a program that works on reintegrating long-term care residents back into the community. So maybe you at one point needed 24-hour care, but you have improved while you were in the facility and you're ready to get back into the community. So our individual or our caseworkers, we will do assessments with these individuals and try to identify their strengths, and maybe what challenges they'll have. And we try to set up services to meet their unmet needs so that they can thrive in the community. So we can get them out of the long-term care facility and back into the community. So this is definitely an option that some people might be appropriate for. Next slide, please. So shared housing. Shared housing is one of our programs for Pathlights. It's funded by grants through the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, and it's kind of like a roommate matching program. We've been matching clients for over 30 years. We have seekers, those are individuals who are looking for housing, and we have providers who are individuals who have housing to offer. So that could be anybody who owns their own home. It could be a condo, an apartment, it could be a mobile home, anybody that has an extra room available for rent. They might be looking for supplemental income, maybe a spouse had passed away or an adult child had moved out, they don't want to live alone. So they call us and say, hey, do you know anybody who's looking for rent? Now, shared housing is a great option for those who are on a 2 to 3 year waiting list, or who have a history of eviction or a history of bad credit where they can't get their own apartment. It's great for those who don't want to live alone, who are looking for companionship, who are looking for some financial help. It allows a homeowner to stay in their home and not have to leave because they can't afford their mortgage or taxes. And it allows somebody to get a roof over their head while they're looking for more long-term housing. Our shared housing program does not offer any type of emergency housing. There is no cost for this program, so this program is free. Anybody of any age can participate, as long as when we do make a match, one person in the match has to be over the age of 62 or 62 and over. The timeline varies for shared housing. I've matched somebody within a week. Sometimes it's been a couple of months, and not everybody finds a match. Some people are very particular in what they are looking for, what they're willing to live with, their geographical area, their budget. So some people we are not able to find a match for, but oftentimes we are able to do so. We often have more seekers, those who are looking for housing, than we do providers, especially during COVID. COVID has hit shared housing pretty hard. The individuals we did have who were interested in taking somebody in and renting out a room, they kind of got weary about having a stranger move in. But if somebody was interested in shared housing, they would just have to give us a call. We do extensive interviews. We check references, and we try to match people based off of pet peeves, hobbies, personalities. We don't want to match anybody who you're going to ruffle each other's feathers with. So this is a great option for those who are looking for housing. Next slide, please. One of the other things our organization can do is we can offer resources for those individuals who are currently homeless. We can give out a list of homeless shelters that are in the area. We can give out a list of hotels in the area that offer long-term or extended stays. We can give out information on organizations who offer housing assistance, and we can also help them with referrals to other community programs. Like we work very closely with Beds Plus, and together we cope in Tinley Park. So we can try to link them with as many resources as we can, as well as give them the other information on their housing options. Maybe do a shared housing intake and interview to see if that's an option for them as well. Next slide, please. Housing related benefits. So one of the things that Pathlights does is we can help individuals apply for any benefits they might be appropriate for. So homeowners exemption, senior exemption, disabled persons exemption, senior tax freeze, senior tax deferral program. So if you thought you might be interested, or you think mom and dad are interested, give us a call and speak to one of our advocacy team members. They're phenomenal, and they know so much about all of these different programs. We make it very easy for you. They would give you a list of documents to hand to us so that we can do the application for you and with you, so we can get you as many benefits and as many discounts as possible. So this is a great option to try to put some extra bucks in wallets of seniors. Next slide, please. Services in the community. So let's say we have an individual who doesn't want to move into a nursing home. We just match them within shared housing, but they could use a little extra help in the community. There's lots of services that Pathlights offers for those who want to stay in the community and not have to go into supportive living, assisted living, or long-term care. We can set up in-home services. So that includes a home care aide to help out with daily activities, help out around the house a couple of times a week. That includes the emergency response system. So that's the necklace or bracelet that they can wear in case there was an emergency. It also includes adult daycare and the automatic medication dispenser. It could include home delivered meals. This is great for older adults who are disabled, homebound, maybe have low income, they have difficulty with shopping and cooking. And what's great is that in the last couple of years, we've been able to cater to more and more of those individuals who have special dietary needs. We also offer caregiver support and respite. So we have monthly support groups and events for caregivers in order for us to educate them, advocate for them, and support them in any way that they need. We try really to educate people about caregiver burnout so that that could be completely avoided. Respite offers care for those individuals who are informal caregivers who just need a break. We also have adult protective services. So those are for the cases surrounding elder abuse or elder neglect. And then of course, advocacy. So learning about and applying for any and all available benefits and discounts. Each of these services has their own eligibility requirements. All services involved working with a trained caseworker who's going to do a clinical assessment and identify any type of unmet needs. Oftentimes seniors, you know, if they might be eligible for more than one program. So maybe you are in shared housing and we also get you a home care aid and you're getting home delivered meals, things like that. Next slide, please. My advice is for you to start now, whether you are looking for housing or you may need housing in the future. If you're worried about where mom and dad are going to live next year or in 2 years, or your grandparents, or you have that neighbor down the block that you might be concerned about, start talking about this now. Especially in terms of housing because of the extensive waiting lists. You know, people will call and say, hey, I'm being evicted, or hey, my landlord is selling the building and they tripled my rent. And there's a 2 to 3 year waiting list. So we can work with shared housing and we can work with your other options, but there's really no way to get around those waiting lists. So the sooner we start talking about it, the sooner the individual can call and get their name on those waiting lists. Start touring facilities now. Oftentimes, older adults may not be ready to talk about transitioning to the next level of care, whether that's assisted living, supportive living, or a long-term care facility. But if you tour the facility now, they get to see it. They get to see how the residents there are interacting with the staff, are interacting with each other. They can see a sample of the menu. They can see a sample of the scheduled activities. They can get a feel for what it's going to be like so that when it is time to talk about that or time to make a decision like that, they are more comfortable doing so. They're less likely to hit the brakes. It kind of puts the idea in their head and it lets them become a part of their planning because this is their life, you know, and you want to make sure that they don't feel like they're giving up their independence and they're giving up their freedom. It's just in a different form now. Educate yourself on services that you may need for the future. If you are going to stay in your own home and you're going to get a roommate through shared housing, what services are you going to need down the line? Will you need home delivered meals? You know, are there any benefits that you could apply for that's going to put more money in your pocket at the end of the month? So call us. If you have any questions or concerns, call us. Next slide, please. One call really does it all. So you can call us, you can speak to our intake specialist. She'll go over what your concerns are. You'll be assigned to a caseworker, referred to the appropriate program, and we'll figure it out because we're here to help you.